Howdy, folks. High Value DMD. Don't just give me your subscription, but please let me earn it. Let me earn your like and let me earn your comment. The time of the man is coming to a close. Just the other day, I was talking to my fine feathered friend, a fellow colleague and dentist, and we were talking about the state of affairs of the world, of the United States, and masculinity and how men are doing nowadays. And we were taking a step back and surveying the landscape, looking at the history of feminism and where we are at this current moment. It is an election year in the United States, and we have former President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris running for president. And this is the first time, or this is the second time we've had a female running for president. They've passed the primary, and now that they're in the general election on the ticket. And to me, it could be a toss-up, whichever way it goes. But we were sitting back and thinking that if Kamala Harris were to win the election in the United States, what does that mean for men? What does that mean for our culture? Because that's going to be a significant first in our history. We've had one female vice president before, which is Kamala Harris, and she could very well be the commander-in-chief of our country, of the most powerful country in the world. And there has been other countries that have had female prime ministers, female presidents before. A good example of one would be Margaret Thatcher of the United Kingdom, and that was during the Reagan era. In more modern times, there's been prime ministers of Finland, of New Zealand. Angela Merkel, I think is her name, in Germany. She was prime minister of Germany for a while there. So it's not like it's a brand new idea for a female to be a leader of a world power. Germany is the biggest one, right, that has happened. But of the United States, what does that say for society and culture? And I'm just sitting here observing. We had first wave feminism, or let's start with the 40s, right? A lot of men went off to war, and women stepped into roles, into factories, to help the war effort. We had the men come back from the Second World War, and then on into, we had the Civil Rights era, and with that came more female, women empowerment and second wave feminism, let's call it that. And we are now quite a bit removed from the Voting Rights Act of women. We get on into the 60s and 70s, we have even more women going to college than ever before, becoming much more of a normalcy for women to occupy more professional roles. They're no longer just secretaries and assistants, but maybe we're having more female physicians, female dentists, whatever have you. We get on into the 90s and 2000s, and by then it's very much commonplace for women to attend college. And it's no longer about just going into the workforce. It's no longer as much about that, but the narrative starts to change. And the idea of feminism at its core is about equality, right? Some of the original feminists would be for pro-male issues as well, because it's simply something born out of the civil rights era. Simply equality for all people, right? We can all get behind that idea, right? As time has gone on, in my profession, I'm a dentist, and I'm going to be an oral surgeon, actually. So I'm going to be a specialty dentist. In my line of work in the medical field, I have slowly seen the demographics of dental school, and I also keep up with my medical counterparts, and of medical school, how the demographics of those classes have now changed. There are majority females becoming dentists than males. There's a majority females in medical school classes over males. The same holds true for undergraduate institutions. So we have seen this change. Where are the men going, right? And you don't see this change with things like oil rig workers. You don't see it with super dangerous jobs. You don't see it with welding. You don't see it with bricklayers, construction. It is in these STEM fields, it's in these medical fields. And these have historically been considered these high powered jobs, right? And so the messaging seems to me that it's not exactly about equality. It's about becoming more. And where do we go with that, right? If there's more females becoming physicians, if there's more females becoming dentists, in my idea, in my world, those are roles that could be occupied by a man. And then those are roles that that's someone's husband, is those spots are being taken. Or taken, I don't know. I mean, I can't prove that there's an outright agenda or that there's more selectivity, proclivity to choose females for those spots. But what is this doing to us as a society? So no longer we're going to see it commonplace as the dentist, the doctors as the man, and then a wife behind them. But we're going to see more females in those roles. And then it's like, who are they going to, who's going to be their husbands, right? I'm assuming that they would want another person of their field, right, to be with. And I'm also making an assumption based on like anecdotal experiences or stories I've heard of that it's just simply going to be harder to find those men if there's more women occupying more of the spots. There's less men in those spots. So who are those women going to date? It's just an interesting cultural phenomenon that I've been noticing. So we're entering the era of women. And if Kamala Harris wins the presidency, are we going to go back to male presidents? You know, who would be the next Democrat that would be brought up as a candidate? Would we really want to go back to a man? Because there's been, we're going on the 47th presidential election. So would we go back to male candidates? Why would we? Is the question. If we're now used to seeing a female commander in chief and a first man, why would we change? We would be in the era of the matriarchy, no longer the patriarchy, if you want to use some of their words. What is that going to do for our culture and society if our young men growing up, the high-powered careers and jobs are taking over? I don't want to imply malicious intent at all. There are reasons why I fully understand a woman would want to go in those careers, and I don't necessarily fault them for that. Our young men, our sons, young boys, if they grow up in an era where all of their leadership is women, all the people in charge of them are women, all the way up to the highest level, commander in chief, a female. What is that going to do to the male psyche? Because there's already enough men not stepping into leadership roles. There's already enough men that are disenfranchised with society, with how things are going in the dating market, with many, many things. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you if it's right or wrong to have a female president. What I do want to say is take a step back and pause and think about the ramifications that this may have. What this may do to masculinity in this country. Think about what it may do to women as well. This may be something that women are saying they want, that they're going to vote for. But if the outcome of this is a net decrease of masculinity in our culture, of that masculine influence, that leadership in our culture, Is that really what we want? Is that really the best thing for wives in our country? Is that the best thing for daughters in our country? There are certain jobs out there that need to be run and fulfilled by a man. And yes, I said that out loud. And yes, some people may not agree with that. I'm more than welcome to have a discussion with you in the comments about it. For instance, in my faith, I believe the Bible is very clear about that men should lead a church. Men should pastor their flock. This is obviously the government, as far as the presidency. It's not a church. But that is the church is an example of an extreme leadership role. You are literally responsible for their souls. You're responsible for teaching them, bringing them up. If we're now talking about the presidency, someone that has the nuclear launch codes, we're talking about roles in the United States military. I think we need men. We're talking about our police departments, police forces, the Secret Service. That's a whole nother story about the assassination attempt, how one of their leaders was a female. We're talking about the border patrol. We talk about all of these organizations. I believe firmly that we need strong male leadership. And it starts at the highest level. So I'm here to tell you today that I hope that we don't transition into the time of the woman. And I don't necessarily want to say that we're in the time of the man. But I certainly don't want to err on this side of we are now in the time of the woman for many. I don't know what happened to equality. I don't know what happened to that original form of feminism, but it's long gone. It's long gone. People are going to be voting because she's a female, not because she's qualified. And that violates the basic ideas of feminism and equality inherently. And with that, I will leave you. I hope I earned your subscription. I hope I earned your like, and I hope I earned your comment. Let me know what you think below. Until next time.